So I want to read a passage from Philippians 4, and I love the book of Philippians, by the way. Like, out of all the books in the Bible, I think this is my favorite. And I love the whole Bible, of course, but like, it's so short. You could just read it right before bed and dwell on God's truth. Great reminders in here. And I feel like every time I read through this book, I learn something new or something about myself. Like, God shows me something about my heart. Maybe I need to shift something, submit something, or dethrone something. Who knows? Actually, I do know now. God did reveal something to me lately, and I want to read this passage. It was from this passage. How I praise the Lord that you were concerned about me again. I know you have always been concerned for me, but you didn't have the chance to help me. Not that I was ever in need, for I have learned how to be content with whatever I have. I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it is with a full stomach or empty, with plenty or little, for I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. You know, when I read this passage, I'm gonna be so honest. When I read this passage, I get a little jealous, and I really do love this passage. And when I read it, I really do see Paul's heart posture, and it makes me want to be like that. He talks about the secret of being content. The thing that we're all chasing, me and you. I really convinced myself that if my circumstances changed, my problems will be solved. That is a huge lie, and it kept me in this loophole where I was going around and around. And what I've come to learn is that Paul, when he says that I have learned the secret of contentment through Jesus, that this is true prosperity. He was in prison, he said, I'm good. Thank you for worrying about me, but I have learned the secret of being content, with or without. And as I read through the whole New Testament, all the suffering, all the hardship of the apostles, you see time and time again that God doesn't change the circumstance all the time, but he changes the people in the circumstance. So I'm trying to have that perspective in my own circumstances. And I do believe God is calling us to have this shift in perspective, to look to him for fulfillment, look to him for prosperity, look for him for contentment. Because all we need is Jesus. Through Christ alone, we can have these things, but we go through other places. When I was growing up, I always wondered why God wanted us to worship him. Like, why does he need that? Does he need his ego to be boosted? Does he just like it? Does he like the music? Whatever. Why does he want that? And what I'm starting to notice is that it's not just because he wants it, but it's for our own good. It's for protection, because he's the only one worth praising. He knows that if we praise anything else other than him, it's gonna leave us devastated. It's gonna fail us. And lastly, in one of the most famous verses, a lot of people know this one, and it says, for I can do anything through Christ who strengthens me. That verse is not about getting what you want, not about building your business, not about getting out this thing, getting that girl, getting that boy, whatever. It's not about that. But in biblical context, it's really about enduring suffering. It's about enduring hardship. It's about learning how to be content through Jesus alone in your situation, whatever it is. Just in life, throughout this whole life, learning to be content with or without, like Paul was in the Roman prison. So I want you to ask yourself a couple questions. First, ask yourself, who or what controls your contentment? Then if it's not God, ask yourself, what are you going to do about it? Because you got to take some action, right?